Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Steve with Real Progressives. Let's talk. Who are we as a movement? Is there a movement even behind us? And if there is a movement, what is it uniting around? Is it uniting around just being angry? Is it uniting around a platform? Is it uniting around an economic message? What exactly is it that people want us to unite for? Okay, so the things that I stand for, just put it right up front. The things I stand for are largely the Bernie Sanders platform that he put forward and the Jill Stein Green New Deal. You put those together and that represents what I stand for. Now, I will tell you that there are things about each one of them that I don't like. There are things or aspects, there are ways that they wanted to implement it that I don't like. But if you tell me that that is what we stand for, I can unite around that. But if you have people wanting me to chase down a conspiracy that literally destroys the possibility of getting a Green New Deal, that literally destroys the possibility of Medicare for all, that literally destroys the idea of being able to push green energy into the forefront today, if you literally have people that don't understand how to pay for it, pushing these concepts, that are chasing after friggin' Rothschilds, chasing after George Soros, chasing after all these boogeymen. If you don't realize that rich people are rich and they have influence, well, then you got to wake up, man. Let me get you some stiff coffee so you can wake up and realize that the Rothschilds and Soros are just the latest flavor of the day rich guy trying to buy a government out, right? It's not like there's some master conspiracy here. This is what the rich have always done throughout history. It's nothing different, right? And before there was money, there were bullies that were warlords, and they hoarded water and they hoarded different things, and they wouldn't let you pass the gates until you finally, paid fealty to them or did whatever will they wanted you to bend to. So there's nothing new under the sun here. The thing is that in order to do the things that Bernie wanted to do, in order to do the things that Jill wanted to do, you got to have a foundational economic message. It is not a policy to make good with the butler of the Rothschilds so that they can poison their coffee in the morning so we can take back the world from the Rothschilds. You see what I mean? We can't go ahead and put like oil in their tub and make them slip when they go to take a shower. I mean, maybe we could, but really, for real, is that your grand plan? Or are you going to starve the economy so we all suffer? Is that your next move? What kind of stupid, non-economic, these illiterate ideas are you going to put forward that we have to all succumb to in order to unite? See, this is the stuff I'm talking about. In order to do a Green New Deal, in order to do Bernie Sanders' plan, if those are the things that you want, you got to know how to get there, right? You can't just get there by waxing poetic about the Illuminati. You can't get there hating the Jews. You can't get there with all these bullshit things that you kind of spin into the mix. You got to have a focused direction. It's got to be a keep it simple, stupid message. Okay? Simple. Very, very, very simple. And so somebody sent me a message this morning that I'm taking to heart, and I hope he listens to this. I'm going to send it to him when it's done. He talked to me, he says, you need to tie in real world examples so people understand the economics, so people understand where you're coming from, right? So let's start with student debt forgiveness. That's a really good one because that's the one that's going to be the next bubble in America that's going to really hurt a lot of people. So part of this New Deal thing I take from Jill. Jill was wrong in how she wanted to implement it, but her idea of getting rid of student debt is 1000% sound. Okay? The how to get there, though, she was wrong about. It's not a big deal. I can tell you how to do it. There's others that can tell you how to do it. But the problem is that it is not a 1, 2, 3 easy done thing. You can't just wave a magic wand and make it go away. This is the problem. The Federal Reserve doesn't have as much power as you think they do. So we have to get into macroeconomic reality to make student debt go away. See, this is the thing. This is why I talk about it. Let's say student debt is going to kill our children. That's really going to kill our children. Not our government's debt. We are the ones that make the money. How in the world could a nation that prints its own frickin' money, that creates its own money with ones and zeros with keystrokes, how could a nation that does that go broke? Think about it. It's ridiculous for you to even say such a thing, right? We don't have to break out a shovel to dig up dollars, US dollars. We don't have to go to China and say, yo, man, you got some of them dollar things? You got some of them dollars laying around? No, we print them, we create them. So when you want to talk about how we're going to get rid of student debt, it requires an act of the one group that can do it. Well, who is that? This is where it gets tough. This is why it's not as easy as just, let's do quantitative easing, right? You've got to get Congress, that is owned by the Republicans right now, to actually write a bill and then have the president sign it. And then that money is spent. It's literally spent to wipe out that debt or to erase that debt. The bailouts, that wasn't done by some arbitrary act of the Federal Reserve. No, Congress wrote a bill. Your congressional leaders wrote a bill that authorized that spending to wipe out those debts. That is exactly what needs to take place in order to make student debt go away. It's not that Jill's wrong. Jill has the right sensibilities. The sad thing is that the Green Party is working with an absolutely aberrant economic plan called Positive Money, or the American Monetary Institute, which is this full reserve banking that once again plays on another lie that the Ron Paul people tell, that the 3 o'clock in the morning infomercials tell, okay? Really, 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 really bad. And that is this whole idea of full reserve banking. You all were taught, our colleges taught us, our old school books taught us that there was this thing called a fractional reserve lending system. So banks create money, right? Well, what is money? Money is a coupon. That's all it is. It's like an IOU. I accept your IOU or I don't accept your IOU. Okay? Well, banks, what they do is they create a bank-denominated IOU that ties to the dollar. But when you pay off your loan, what happens? The reserve, because banks don't lend reserves, the bank then zeroes out that account. They make money on the interest they charge you. That's why they don't want you paying things off early. But there's no fractional reserve lending. It was debunked. And so the idea of positive money and the idea of full reserve banking it's a solution in search of a problem. It's more Alex Jones myth telling. And sadly, the Green Party has made it their official economic stand. And that's the problem. So when you get past that, let's talk once again macroeconomic reality. The federal government is monetarily sovereign. All state currencies, when they're done this way, are sovereign. So why do they impose a tax? They impose a tax to drive currency. So you have to use that piece of paper. That's it. That's what a tax is for originally. They wanted to get people who already were farming their land, that were, out there fishing, etc. They needed to make regular people get off their butt and do things for the government. Instead of taking care of their families, they needed to get a job. They needed to do something. So what did they do? They imposed a tax. And that tax was only payable in the king's gold or the king's dollars, the king's fiat, okay, by decree. That's what that means. I tell you all this so you understand. When I say taxes don't fund spending, they don't, because the state issued the money. Think about this. The state issued the money to make you do things for it, and then it forced you to pay some of that back, not to pay for things, but to keep it valuable. So you had to have this piece of paper. Okay, that's what drives the monopoly power of the dollar in the United States. Now, you hear a lot of people that are really sure of themselves. They're so sure, and they say a lot of really aberrant, horrible, progress-killing things. And my job is to smack that out of existence. That's what I do round the clock, 24/7. Okay? So when we talk about student debt forgiveness, when Congress writes a bill, because Congress, by the Constitution, is the lone group that can actually push to spend new money. You get this, right? Congress is the only ones that can do this. Not the Federal Reserve, not the Treasury, not your brother, Kimball and your friend Joey, and not the banks. Only Congress has the power to add what we call net financial assets, or FAs. Banks don't lend reserves. So when you hear someone say fractional reserve system, I like to say they're lying, because I've told this so many times that I believe they are blatantly lying. But let's just say they're misinformed. Let's just say they're misinformed. For those of you who have heard this, you're now lying if you say it again. Fact check me, okay? L. Randall Wray very eloquently spoke about this. Stephanie Kelton has very eloquently spoken about this. Ellis Winningham has very eloquently, and sometimes not so eloquently, spoken about this. And the list goes on and on and on of people that live in macroeconomic reality. Okay? Now, back to student loans one more time. If taxes don't fund spending, then that means that we're not financially solvency constrained. That means that our government can literally say, we are making a choice, a priority, to eradicate student loan debt. We're going to make it illegal to collect it. We're going to make college free for all. And then they can write a bill like they did for the banks and TARP and all the other things. And they can then tell the Federal Reserve, we're going to do something. And all of a sudden, those checks are sent out. They're paid off. Those debts are wiped out. Finite, done. That's how it's done. That's not quantitative easing. It's an act of Congress. So, there we go. Lori, here's the problem. When you say misinformed is a better word choice, less divisive and judgmental, I would agree with you. The problem is that I feel that people that don't know should speak less authoritatively. When they speak with an authority voice, they're putting themselves in the role of a teacher. And, let's be biblical about it for a minute. Woe to those who presume to be teachers, okay? Better to tie a millstone around your neck than mislead one of my little ones, okay? Let's just keep it real, yo. When you say something and you say, well, I think I heard this, that's one thing. That's misinformed. I don't know. But when you say, this is the way it is, well, now you're setting yourself up to get slapped. And that's why I say they're lying, because what they're doing is literally killing a nation. That's the only reason I say that. It's not to be mean. It's because I genuinely believe these people hate the government so much that their only goal is to destroy it. And they'll use the monetary system as their fake Trojan horse to dismantle our social safety nets. They're doing it around the world through neoliberalism and capitalism. They're destroying the English healthcare system. They all had the universal healthcare there. They're destroying the Australian healthcare system. The capitalists from the United States are spreading their wings and destroying every social safety net around the world. So what I'm saying is very vital, not just here domestically, but this is a global movement, a global economic movement I'm pushing for. Okay? So back to student loans one more time. We eradicate student loans. Now all of a sudden what happens? All of a sudden, people that were spending $300, $400, $500 a month on student debt now have $300 or $400 or $500 back in their pockets to pursue getting a home, to pursue actively doing something with their lives, to maybe even put a few dollars aside for a rainy day, because we all have a natural inclination to save. You know what I'm saying? So, now let's talk about green energy for a minute. everything in our country is on oil. I'm talking about every lubricant. Almost everything about our country and our world is on oil in some way, shape, or form. So ending our dependency on fossil fuels goes beyond just our cars, goes beyond just some of these, more obvious things like airplanes and such, right? It goes beyond just energy in the sense. There's a lot of uses that fossil fuels and other oils and stuff like that have come, into existence. Imagine if we went and we were able to cut our dependency on oil in general. Forget being a green person for a minute. Don't even be, economic or environmentally friendly for a minute. Just think about what would happen to capitalism as a whole if we eliminated our need for oil. It would dramatically drop the cost of everything. It would dramatically drop the cost of everything. Now, wind power. Unfortunately, those turbines require lubricants too, right? And they have some some waste product that comes from them as well. So it's not like a one and done thing here. You realize that. I mean, we have other things that we need these things for. But if we could lessen it to a point where the focus was largely on free energy and green energy, right? The amazing shift in our economic status would drastically change. Drastically. The cost of living would drastically drop. That's why you see these people, when you hear about solar power being charged by the state, and you see all these other people putting a tax on solar power and stuff. The reason they're doing that is because they recognize that all of a sudden you have more money in your pocket. They're afraid of inflation. They're afraid of inflation, and they're afraid of the capitalists not capitalizing still. You see? So our job has to be to know economics, because if we understand economics, let me tell you what we can do with the economic policies that I would unite around. Immediately today, right now, not yesterday, not in a few years, not in 30 years, not in 50 years, but right now, we could immediately begin funding wind power immediately. We could immediately invest in solar right now, solar roads right now. Every parking garage in America, the rooftop would be a solar panel. Every government building, the rooftop would be a solar panel. Every window would be solar. Every single thing that we have around the world, we could do solar. We could eliminate so much waste, because at the state level, let's be fair, that's tax money that's paying for that electric. That's our money, right? Imagine if we could decrease those things. Now, what happens to the poor capitalists that are trying to make money on you and I and our energy consumption? Okay? Well, they're going to have the opportunity to get heavily involved in green energy. Maintaining green energy, maintaining the structures, maintaining the infrastructure, the transmission systems, the storage capabilities. There is jobs out the wazoo there. There's so much money to be made if you're thinking about it like that. So for the capitalists of the world, there's still money in saving the planet, even if your greed is driving it. I don't care what your motivation is. We need to save the planet, save our environment for us to exist on this planet, right? But if you recognize, once again, back to our discussion about taxes not funding spending, what do you think is the primary reason most Republicans are afraid of green energy? Aside from the fact that they drive these mud kickers and these Prius dusters and the rebel flags and the propped up trucks and everything else with the diesel and you name it, whatever. Bottom line is that when you think about it, they're afraid of green energy because they're afraid it'll make their car go slower. They're afraid that it's going to cost them a lot more in taxes. They're afraid that you're going to go after their money. They're afraid that you're going to come after them as individuals and make their life more expensive. They're afraid of change. That's what a conservative is, right? But if you lessen the fear of that change by showing, in fact, that we can save them huge amounts of money and we don't have to jack taxes up because taxes don't fund spending. Remember this. Taxes don't, federal, let's be clear, federal taxes don't fund spending. Okay? So yes, there's a whole testosterone factor, right? But without getting too far into the degrading category, I just want to keep it real so people understand what we can unite around, right? The reason why this economic plan matters so much is because if you believe, as I believe, that we are nearing an economic crisis, and well, yeah, we are, but if you believe that we're nearing an environmental and ecological crisis, then you know that time is of the essence. And if you're chasing the Rothschilds, if you're trying to create some new fucked up economic system that doesn't exist and you couldn't get past a Republican Congress anyway, think about that. Who's got the pants right now? Who's winning the wars? It's the Republicans right now, right? Call it what it is. They are winning. They've got a better ground game. They got more state capitals right now. They have done everything right to take the country over for a friggin' fascist nation. But they have done it right. They've done what they had to do. And they have rigged the system so it's against us. So that means we have to be smart. We can't just be dumb and loud and angry. We've got to be smart. And how do you be smart? What do they care about? They care about taxes. They care about taxes. Think about it. They care about taxes. They don't want to pay more for this muffler. They don't want to pay for your bad choices, right? Well, fine. See what I mean? This is why this statement is so important. There is this parasite. I'm not even going to mention his name because it would just give him props, and there's no point in giving him props because he's an idiot, a loser, a microphone abuser. And he should never live stream. But he comes around saying I'm Soros bought. Comes around saying that I want the rich to go away, get away with not paying taxes and all this other shit, right? Which is a lie. And that makes him a liar, right? It makes him a liar, makes him a worthless liar. Okay? But that said, it's not that I'm against taxes. It's that I believe that our country and our world are on the freaking right there on that line of a major environmental ecological disaster. And if we focus on just soaking the rich, instead of focusing on getting the climate change situation under control and the environmental scourge under control, then it doesn't matter how many dollars we tax the rich, does it? We're dead. So bravo, Soros conspiracy douchebag. You've earned the Bozo Award. You're a murderer. Anyway, so let's get to the next part of this. If you understand that taxes don't fund spending, and if you understand the reason for taxes is to drive currency so that it's used and it's accepted and it has value. It's not the gold standard that provides our money value. It's that we tax in it. It's not the petrodollar that provides our money value. It's that we tax in it. You see this? So when you see the petrodollar freaks come running around, you have your answer. Look, guys, the reason why our dollar has value is because we tax in it. Taxes are necessary. How much and how little and where they go and whether we need to raise them is a different story. We don't have to raise taxes ever to pay for things because taxes don't pay for things. That's not what federal taxes do. Federal taxes drive currency. They drive your acceptance of the currency. You stop taxing, our dollar would be worthless. That's when you would have a hyperinflation. Hyperinflation, we're printing too much money. No, you would have a hyperinflation if you ceased taxing the dollar. Then it would lose all value. It'd be a worthless coupon. They'd be laying all over the side of the road and you couldn't sweep them up fast enough. That's a hyperinflation. So when you hear these people say it, A, they're either terribly misinformed, or as I like to believe, they're a liar. Okay? They're a liar. But let's just say, so we stay less divisive, that they're misinformed. They're just misinformed. Now they're informed. So let's go to the next part, Social Security. They want to privatize it. Why do you think that is? If you privatize Social Security, the interest and all that good stuff expands. It expands the wealth gap. They earn interest. They make money on your money. The wealth gap grows. Neoliberalism lives. That's what happens when you privatize Social Security. They make profits because they've got a huge, huge risk pool to work with. You and I, however, we don't. Our Social Security system doesn't even require us to pay FICA into it. We could stop charging FICA now. We don't have to raise the roof on it. We don't have to raise the FICA limit on it. We could eliminate FICA altogether. And we could fully fund Social Security into a basic income. Start it from age 0 and provide Social Security at age 0. You could start fully funding Social Security at age 0 as your basic income. Think about that for a minute. We could now. The next part of this, if there is no Social Security trust fund in the sense that there's like an old piggy bank off in some weird bank with crumpled up old dollar bills from 1919 in it, and hay pennies and all the other stuff, wooden nickels and so forth. If you know that Social Security can be fully funded right now, you know it can be fully funded right now. The idea of someone, quote unquote, raiding the Social Security Trust Fund is ridiculous. There is no raiding anything. It's not like they got fat stacks of cash sitting there that are the trust fund. It's not how it works. Social Security, the beautiful thing about Social Security is that it is, once again, keystroked into existence. Your payments are keystroked into existence. There is no solvency constraint, once again. There is no solvency. There is no issue. It is no Ponzi scheme. The only thing is that way back when Social Security was created, the idea of skin in the game mattered a lot. This whole Calvinistic idea of skin in the game. That's why we sold war bonds back in the day. Number one, so you felt like you had skin in the game. And number two, to actually cool down an overheating economy because we were at full employment at the time. Because everybody had to work because we had to keep the war machine going. Think about it, right? So in order to keep the economy from overheating, they sold war bonds. Kind of like a tax in a way. Savings is a leakage from the economy, right? So the more savings we have, the more it's in savings, the more our economy shrinks. It's kind of a yin-yang thing. It's weird, right? So you think savings is really good, and it is for you. But for the overall economy, savings actually is a leakage. So the only way to fix that is for our government to spend money into it. Great way to do that? Give the people on Social Security their cost of living increases now. Lower the age now. Lower the age now. Why not? Why sit there? The only reason why they want to privatize it is so that the capitalists can make big bucks on the interest it bears while you bear the risk and they bear none of it because the risk pool is so big and broad. Too big to fail indeed. Too big to fail indeed. Okay? Now, let's go to the next one. Is there anybody here that has any questions about Social Security? It's just another spreadsheet where they keep track of how much you paid in and how much you're getting out. And that's it. It's to make you feel like you got skin in the game. And damn it, it's been effective. Many people are like, well, I paid into it for 187 years. I've been paying into it my whole life. That's my money. That's how they've sold it. And it's true in the sense that our national resources are ours. Our government's ability to spend money, it's not like them versus us. That's our money as a nation. We tell our Congress, who's supposed to represent us, to spend that money into existence. Spend it, man. Do it now. Do it. Do it. Do it. So this is my point, right? If you want change, it starts with Congress. All right? Now, let's get past Social Security. Social Security, not in any way, shape, or form broke. Social Security can be expanded like Bernie wanted. We could eliminate FICA yesterday. Why? Because FICA doesn't fund it. FICA is a tax. It's used to leave money. Taxes are deleted from the system because they're just zeros and ones. Let's do a game real quick about tax returns for a minute. Let's play a game. So you submit your tax return, Mr. IRS man. Here's how much I made. Here's how much I paid in taxes. I want a refund. So the IRS looks at it. They go into their reserve accounts and they delete the amount of tax that you had in there. They delete it right there. Gone on receipt. That's it. That's how it works. So why does that matter? Well, if you're thinking that taxes fund spending, you're thinking that your hard-earned tax dollars paid for something, right? I mean, think about it. That's what you're thinking. So at the end of the day, your taxes were deleted. Now, when the government sends you a check, that is a new dollar, brand new dollar. It's not a rumpled up, crumpled up old dollar bill. It's a keystroke deposit. And you can have it direct deposited straight into your bank account. And when they give you your refund check, you deposit at a bank, you ask for some cash. That's just like a coupon. They've got a stack of coupons there representing digital dollars that are in the bank. That's it. I know, I'm sorry, Patty. It'll get better in a second. It's just the way the stupid live streams go. So, ultimately, the reason why we talk about taxes not funding spending is because they're used as a tool to keep inflation down, to drive currency. That's it. Maybe to express the public purpose like, hey, we want to show our values. I'm hoping this works a little bit better. I'm sorry. So, moving past this, let's go on to the next thing, and that is paid family and medical leave. Now, how many people do you know have lost their jobs or lost a home because they couldn't afford their home when they lost their jobs, etc.? Okay? Corporate subsidies don't matter because when you worry about corporate subsidies, what you're worrying about really is the idea that we've got to save money. I mean, we can cut whatever, but the point I'm making is don't get trapped in the thought that we've got to find money to fund things. That's not how this works. Our bathtub doesn't know where that money is. It doesn't care where that money is. It just knows it needs a lot of dollars in it. And as dollars are depleted through a trade imbalance or whatever, we lose our ability to spend. We lose our ability to thrive. And that's when we start having recessions, when we cut government spending. All right. So paid family and medical leave. Many of us have to make this awful choice when a child is born of going right back to work. Many of us have to make this awful choice of, hey, we've got a sick kid. What do? Do we just sneak them into daycare and run to our job and hope they don't get a call? I mean, we should be able, without any problem, to take care of our kids and take care of our loved ones. Hold on, subsidies don't save us money, it just gets stuck in corporate bank. I agree with that. I don't disagree with you, Linda. I'm just saying I don't want people to think that people have to find money. That's the concern I have, is that I don't want people to think that somehow or another we have a solvency constraint, right? Because then we get caught up in these little things, and what ends up happening is that people don't realize that, and they get wrapped around the axle about finding people who are getting over on food stamps. They want to find people who are getting over on this stuff because we got to find money. And that's what I worry about. It's like, I think about the economy like a French drain. Okay, if you know what a French drain is, when you have a leaky basement, what they'll do is they'll sit there and about a foot away from the wall, they'll like jackhammer it out, they'll put rocks in, they'll put pipes in, and they'll drain. They realize that water is going to come in no matter what, and they just reroute the water. That's the way I look at so-called abuses, right? These so-called abuses, I just look at it like I accept that there's going to be some abuses. I don't want them, whatever, I don't care. It's just small potatoes in the grand scheme of things. What I'm concerned about is the whole. I'm very concerned about us thriving and surviving. So, anyway, paid family and medical leave, I think, is pretty self-explanatory. We should not bear the burden of what we can't control. Okay? We should also not have to bear the burden of being cancer-stricken, or the fact that we've got Alzheimer's disease, or the fact that we've got a broken bone, or that we've been in a car accident, or whatever. We should be able to go and get health care when we need it. We should be able to get our teeth fixed when we need it. We should be able to get our eyes fixed when we need it. We should be able to get our brain therapized. We should be able to get therapy when we need it. It should not be based on our ability to produce little green dollars. Our lack of dollars is a political choice by our government. Yeah. I mean, we should not have to worry about being sick. Think about how stressed out it makes you when you feel the constriction of not being able to afford your illness. You're already sick. Now all of a sudden you got the stress of knowing you could lose your job. All of this is unnecessary. It's completely unnecessary. You're not a bad person. You didn't make bad choices. This is a simple matter of right and wrong. We can afford it. It should be a right. Healthcare is a right. It should be a right. We have the capability to make this happen now. So this is why I keep talking about taxes not funding spending. If taxes don't fund spending, I believe Republicans love their kids too. I believe Republicans love their grandmother too. I believe Republicans, even the poor ones that don't know any better, I believe they love their family. So if you understand the motivators of the other side, sorry about that, then you can present options to overcome their objections. But if you've got dipshittery running around saying, he doesn't want to tax the rich, oh my God, he's Soros spot, then you're going to never get anywhere. You're never going to get anywhere. That's not something that we can unite around. That's stupidity. And it should not be given a voice. This is the stuff that I don't want any part of. I don't want to unite with weirdness. I want to unite on an actionable plan to save the planet, to make my kids' lives better, to end perpetual war. You know what I'm saying? I want to do things that are actionable, that matter. Not sit there and be the brave new guy chasing down the Soros man or chasing down the Rothschilds, making them slip in their bathtub. Come on. Grow up, Peter Pan, Count Chocula. I mean, this is the stuff, man. So I look at it like this. Racial justice, right? What do you think about a drug war that perpetuates constant poverty? Daddy got taken to jail because he was already cut out of the economic process. There's no jobs in town. We can't afford to leave. And the only commerce is the drug trade. That's it. And now I'm broke because I stole. I mean, you gotta think about this stuff, right? To end drug war. This goes back to Medicare for all. People need health care when they need it. They need addiction help when they need it. They need psychological help when they need it. Not when some conservative decides they need it. When they need it. And they need to do it stigma-free. Think about this. This is not hard to understand. It's not hard to understand. And yet, people purposely don't get what I'm saying. If taxes don't fund spending, and we can improve the lives of every single American and prove to the rich we don't need them. Why? Because it's not their money that funds these things. It's our federal government creating those dollars. Our national resources creating this. We don't need the rich. Fuck the rich. We can make our lives better without them. They don't get to pat themselves on the back. Aren't I such a nice guy? I helped them today. Aren't I such a nice guy? You see what I'm saying? This isn't hard to understand. But yet some pervert out there will go out there and say that I'm not for taxing the rich. Now, I'm out there to make sure the rich are irrelevant. I want us to thrive with or without their support. Which brings us to the next thing, electoral reform, right? You can't have any of this if you can't elect the people that will support this. Taxes fund nothing at the federal level. Taxes are literally deleted. If you watch the video from the start, you'll see that what happens is that when we file our tax returns or whatever, our taxes are deleted. Taxes fund states. Exactly. So, getting back to it. It's very important, very, very, very important that we understand that in order to have a country that we love and that has equality for all, we've got to do things that are citizen benefits, not just welfare, you see? If we anchor our economy to a job guarantee, if we get rid of the drug war, people can leave the inner cities and tell the slumlords, fuck you. If we give them a job guarantee, they can always have a job and relocate wherever they want, instead of being the one person stuck behind in Detroit after every business fled. Now all of a sudden there's no tax revenue, the pipes are rusting, and they're trapped. Job guarantee fixes that instantly. Unlike a basic income guarantee, which is just ultimately like a voucher or a subsidy for the capitalists. Do you understand this? A federal job guarantee gives you all the benefits too. Health care, college, all those things. A basic income is just basic income that goes straight to the capitalists. It's the status quo. I'm not against a basic income, but I am against a basic income as just the solution. I am for a federal job guarantee with an offset of a basic income. The job guarantee is the key. It pegs the currency, it pegs our environment, it pegs our entire everything to labor. So guess what? The capitalists can't screw with the labor anymore. They can't threaten you by taking away your entire livelihood. They can't threaten your family. They can't make your kids' lives hell anymore because you have a guarantee. And you'll never have to worry about going and getting to the doctor because you've got your health care. Think about it. Folks, this is what I'm willing to unite around. If this is a platform you're willing to unite around, that, man, oh man, we got a movement. If it's not, ask yourself why. What is it? What is it that you don't understand about what I said? You know? Now, here's something else. I'm going to debunk something real quickly. $20 trillion in debt. We hear that a lot, and they use it to scare us. $20 trillion of securities, aka savings accounts at the Federal Reserve. That's it. It's a savings account. And they use it to scare the shit out of all of us. But guess who's the creator of the US dollar? That's right, the US government. Only Congress, by the Constitution, can do that. And Congress has empowered its creature of Congress, which is the Federal Reserve. And they go ahead and they're the scorekeeper. All they do is enter things on a keyboard, a spreadsheet, based on the Congressional Act, based on Congress moving. I mean, this is pretty simple stuff. It really, really is. So this whole idea of debt, oh my God, we're 20 trillion in debt. And we're not in debt. We didn't borrow that money because, oh my God, we ran out of US dollars. We got to get China. Would China give us some US dollars? Maybe China will give us some US dollars. No. They do it. Why? The Federal Reserve sets a target interest rate for banks. And they fight to defend that target interest rate. So they will sell bonds. They will use other monetary instruments to defend that positive interest rate. That's it. Interest rates are meant to keep you and I in debt. But that's the way we do it. So the only way to offset that, thank you, Milton Friedman, you jackass, is to replace monetary policy as our primary tool and focus on fiscal policy, which is congressional spending, new money into the economy. 40 plus years of austerity in America have made it so we've got to do a heck of a lot more than just spend a little bit here and there. Up food stamps by $5. Yeah. We got to do an awful lot to repair 40 years of neoliberalism. 50 years, actually. We've got to do an awful lot of repair work there. So this idea of we're in debt, folks, if any one of these people decided to cash out their treasuries, what do you think they get? They get a whole bunch of keystroke deposits. Do you understand this? This is not some horrible thing. This is not some big giant, oh my God. It's very important to understand this. The debt and the fear-mongering is lethal to progress. Now let's talk about the deficit, and this will be what I end on. The deficit is an annual number. It resets to zero every fiscal year. There is no ongoing deficit. It's an annual number between the amount we taxed and the amount we spent. Now, they always talk about, we got to reduce the deficit. Even St. Bernard says it, which drives me nuts. But the reality is, the deficit is a public deficit by accounting identity. A public deficit is a private surplus. By accounting, somebody's deficit is somebody else's surplus. And somebody else's surplus is someone else's deficit. So if the government is running a surplus, who is running a deficit? Chauncey, who's running a deficit? You and I. So thank you, Bill Clinton, for wrecking the economy, right? A lot of awful people, a lot of misled people celebrated Brother Bill's, which was destructive and caused every one of the recessions. Not Bush putting wars on the credit card, right? As much as we hate Bush for being an asshat, let's not lie, and it is a lie, to say that Bill Clinton gave Bush a surplus and George Bush screwed it all up. This is simple. You don't have to like the Republicans. You can hate George Bush. I get it. But don't ever tell a lie and say that the reason the economy was wrecked is because George Bush spent money on the military. That's bad. We should spend it on us. But never tell a lie like that. When somebody says that, I look at them and I feel sick inside because I know they don't know what they're talking about. That's it. I feel sick inside. I don't know what they're talking about. In any event, we're going to go ahead and we're going to close off this thing. Tonight, I'm going to have Joe Firestone with me. Tomorrow night, I'll have Ellis Winningham. Folks, it's very important that we think about what we want, because when the Justice Democrats come around, if they don't have the ability to tell you what I just said, then just because they're saying unite doesn't mean they're uniting for the right thing. Ask these Justice Democrats if they understand how federal financing works. If they don't, run fast. Run for your life. If the Green Party tells you that they're following the positive money, which is based on going ahead and eradicating a non-existent fractional reserve system, tell them, guys, please get with the program and learn actual economics. Stop this greening of the dollar nonsense. It's putting an unnecessary barrier in place of us being able to have your wonderful Green New Deal. So Jill, David, gang, please get rid of Zarlenga. He's not helping the Green Party at all. And when you talk to Republicans, remember, we have some common ground. Hey guys, we don't have to raise taxes if we do this right. And now all of a sudden, guess what you got? Now all of a sudden you've got the possibility of bringing a coalition together based on labor, based on the foundation of the workers of America uniting. We all of a sudden are fighting for a federal job guarantee. We're fighting for something meaningful. Not just angry at Trump. Not just angry. Not just saying things. Not just going after the Rothschilds, trying to get him to drink some X-Lax in his coffee in the morning so he has the Hershey squirts. Or whatever it is that you want to do to Amschel, Rothschild, and the gang. Right? Think about it. This is actionable stuff. This is the stuff you build a revolution on. And you drive that dagger into the heart of neoliberalism. This is it. And I can say this in front of 1 million people, or I can talk to each one-on-one. This is it. This is how it goes. So with that, I'm Steve Grumbine. I hope you guys learned something today. If you have any questions, I'll do my dead level best to answer them. But everything I said today, I stand by. So with that, have a great day, everybody.